Hey, everybody, and welcome to Real Talk, Real Leaders, powered by CMD. Our name has changed just a little bit, but our mission is the same. We are elevating and amplifying the voices of diverse and authentic leaders. I'm your host, Shauna Griffiths. And today I am super excited to have Perry Maughmer with us. Perry is founder of Relentless Leadership, which is one of my favorite topics. And you are doing such amazing things. So today, in your seat today, where you find yourself, you created such an incredible, what I feel like is an incredible reality. You are a leadership speaker, a business consultant, and an executive coach. So give us an idea of how did you evolve into the seat that you have today?
Well, evolution is a great term, right? Because it's what we should all strive to do. And in fact, it's actually one of the components of the leader's journey, which is, for me, the way we look at it is, explore, experiment, evolve, right? So that's what we're always doing as a leader. And I think over the last, I guess it's like 30 years now, working in a number of different industries and a number of different capacities, big organizations, small organizations, I always saw the same challenge, right? And I think it's a challenge everybody sees. It's connecting people to vision, and then also providing an opportunity and environment where they can create for themselves.
Yeah.
Right. So I love that we use the term from time to time, liberating greatness in others. Right. So we're just trying to set that free for people. And once you can do that, then great things happen for the individual and for the organization part of it.
Yeah, that's incredible. So I actually found you, let me start with this. So I found you in a bit of a rabbit hole of social media searching. So sometimes this could prove to be good things. Your Instagram handle, the Relentless Few, I came upon it and I was like, oh my God, my people. So, tell us, when you were creating this, like, what was the thing that sparked you to create this as a business? I think it's, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but when I look at what you're doing, it comes from such an authentic place in how you operate. But I would just love to hear, like, what sparked you to actually create it and what fuels you to keep going?
So the creation of it really stems from about 4 or 5 years ago when I first started doing what I do now in various ways with being a Vistage chair and leadership stuff. And I went through a branding exercise with a gentleman named Ryan Magada from a company called Brave Little Beast here in Columbus. And part of that process was kind of coming up with some words that describe, who you are and what your approach is. And so what's funny is I did that 4 or 5 years ago, and I had that set aside. And I haven't, it's been an evolution of the brand, right? Because it was really more about, started with me as an individual, and then trying to figure out what this really meant and making it kind of extend beyond me. Right. And I go back to that paperwork, and that word is there. It's there in all of the iterations of what we did. It always came out. Yeah. Right. And so when I found it again, I'm like, that's it. Like, that's the word. Now, what do I do? And then this concept of the relentless few came to my head, because my statement to people is, everyone can, but few will. Ooh, right? Yeah. Because we all have the capacity, we all have the ability. It's just that so few of us will. And with good reason, and there's no judgment involved in that, right? It's just that the effort, it's too much for a lot of people. Yeah. And that's okay. And sometimes we ebb and flow through phases of our life. Sometimes we can be more relentless sometimes than others. I get all that, but that's kind of the process, is understanding the undertaking. Like, when you commit to doing it, just understand what you're committing to doing, and that it isn't going to be easy. And to me, that was what the relentless few really stands for.
Yeah. I love that. And when we were talking last time, you said something to me that it's been like playing on repeat in my brain. You said something about, you don't actually recommend leadership to people. So talk about that a little bit, because I think it gives an insight into your philosophy about relentless leadership.
Yeah, when I speak to groups, when I speak to individuals, when I speak to anybody about leadership, my first comment is, don't pursue it. Like, just don't do it. Because to me, and it's summed up with the 90-10 rule. So, the 80-20 rule, everybody knows about that, right? So but I call it the 90-10 for leadership, is that 90% of the time, if you undergo if you try to take advantage of that opportunity for leadership, right? 90% of the time, it's going to be soul sucking, right? It's just
Right.
not fun. It's not an easy job. Now, what
Yeah.
the thing is though, that 10% of the time, it's going to be so wildly euphoric that it
Yeah.
makes up for the other 90. It's just like raising kids. It's just
Yeah.
like being a parent, right? And so I just tell people right off the bat, understand the journey you're undertaking. And I actually, and I made a note that I call it an odyssey,
Okay.
because an odyssey is a long wandering or voyage, usually marked by many changes in fortune. And that's what leadership is, and it should be, right?
Yeah.
It should never be. And I tell people the other thing is that leadership should never be efficient. Like, so if you're striving to be efficient all the time, you can't lead, because leadership involves people. And so
Right.
those opportunities that come up to you are never efficient. Like, you can't do it efficiently.
Right. You can do it impactfully though. And so that's one of the things that I love about the way it seems that you live it, you breathe it, you made it your business. And you're right, it's not an easy thing to do per se, but it's a choice you make every day. And, I think that even the way that you present yourself and the way that you live, I've been loving your posts that I see in the morning. It's like, it's either a 4 a.m. gym workout or it's 4 a.m. your alarm goes off, something like that. But, I think that that's a key component, I think, of being a relentless leader is the authenticity of it. So, talk to us a little bit about, what do you think are some of the most important things, and or what do you think are some of the misgivings about leadership beyond what you were just talking about?
Okay, so misgivings, it's easy, it's fun, it's telling people what to do, it's going to result in you getting something.
Right.
Any of those things are misgivings, but I think the impactful side of this is people, and that's why the people that I admire most are the ones that invest of themselves, right? So the other part of this, which is and it's kind of paradoxical, is if you want to undertake leadership, at least 50% of your time should be spent on yourself, not
Right.
on others.
True.
The best way to change somebody else's behavior is to change your own. And so if you truly want to lead, you're going to spend half of your time working on yourself, understanding yourself, managing yourself, right?
Yeah.
Leading yourself first before
So
you try to
true.
lead other people. And by the way, leading yourself should never be done alone.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's so true. It's funny, as you're talking, it reminded me of a couple of different things that I'm saying coaches because, and I put it in air quotes, because when I was playing basketball at the University of Michigan in college, my coach at the time, she would say, when you point at other people, you've got your 3 fingers pointing back at you. And so that is kind of what you were saying there. It is so much like you are working to impact others, and you got to make sure that your own house that you're keeping up with your own house first, and then the coach that I've been working with for a while, Leslie Harris, and I actually posted about this recently. He talks about, like, even on the airplane, they say, put your own mask on first before you can put your mask on other people. But, I think it's so true. And I think these are some of the things that people don't necessarily talk about with leadership, right? And, it really is something to work on.
well, so I think it goes deeper. It's a cultural issue, right?
Yeah.
And so culturally, we believe leaders are strong.
Right.
Like, leaders are tough. Leaders don't need help.
Right.
Leaders can forge on and be decisive and all that, and that's all bullshit, right? It really is. It's just leaders. We're not. We can't pour from an empty cup.
Yep.
And so we don't will ourselves to keep working, and that's not it's not a good example to set for other people, like, because that's the other part of being a leader is once you're elevated to that, or you assume that role, or you assume those responsibilities, recognize that you are now the epitome of what a leader should be in your organization. Like, if you get elevated to a certain point, the organization is essentially saying, act like this.
Yeah.
Like, act like this person, because this is the person that we envision as being the ideal leader, right? And so that's a heavy responsibility. So you can't do one thing and tell people to act differently. Like, I'm going to work 75 hours a week. I don't expect you to. I'm going to
Right.
send you emails at 2 o'clock in the morning, but don't feel necessarily you have to respond. That doesn't work.
Right. Yeah, it totally is. It's like, being it, walking it, not just talking it. And so again, I think when I look at the way that you present yourself, that was one of the things that really drew me to wanting to bring you on here and share your vision, because, I think that one of the things that sparked me to create this is seeing so much of people who were in a leadership seat, but really weren't, they didn't have that desire to actually be a leader. And what you're talking about doing the work to be there, it sounds like a cool thing to have a title or to be in a specific situation. But there is a hell of a lot of responsibility that comes with taking that seat.
Yeah. And I think that organizationally, and actually just in business in general, we don't do a very, very good job of preparing people for leadership. And
Right.
one of the foundational concepts of what I tell people right off the bat is what I'm going to talk about with you is descriptive, not prescriptive, right? So I call relentless leadership is a purposeful exploration of leadership. And when I work with leadership teams, what we're doing is we're talking about concepts that exist outside of us, but that each of us have to internalize differently, because each person's leadership has to be authentic. So we can't follow a formula. We can't do step 1, step 2, step 3, and now we're a leader.
Right.
It's a constant evolution, but we have to, as a leadership team, present some unity to the organization, that we have the same shared vision of leadership.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's what spun this process out of, was hearing that from lots of leaders who they'll say to me, well, I can't get my folks, to rally around and be great leaders. And my question is, well, what example are you giving them? Like, what's your definition of leadership?
Right.
And get a blank stare.
It's funny. Sometimes as we're talking, I kind of chuckle, but I think part of it is because I think of these things so much, and I've been on a bit of a quest myself. And so, I find it so sometimes ironic that there is such a focus in people saying that they have these challenges. And we're trying to get there. But as you're saying, there's no 1, 2, 3 step. And I've often told people, there's no book about leadership that we're all reading from. There's a big degree that we're figuring it out, and sometimes we're screwing up along the way. And that's part of, I think, the relentlessness of being an impactful leader, is continuing to evolve, continuing to find the things that inspire, which sometimes is actually I find the result of the work that you're doing. I find that really inspiring. When you're seeing the impact that you can have on people.
Right. And that process, to use an analogy, it's, with people, it's a lighting of a flame, not a vessel to fill. Motivation has to come from within. You can inspire people. Inspire, it's from the Latin, breathe life into, right? So if you want to do that, but don't try to motivate people.
Right.
And I think that's one of the components of that is that Sartre talks about, Jean-Paul Sartre talks about, is bad faith. And bad faith is when we tell ourselves we didn't have a choice. Well, here's the thing. We always have a choice. It's just not always the choice we want. Right. And so we're free to act ourselves into whatever evolution we want to, but we always have to take responsibility for that. There's always an opportunity for us to be different, to grow. We're not, I read this great book recently called Personality Isn't Permanent. And to me, our behavior has to be subservient to our goal. Wow. And if our goal is something that's meaningful to us and that's heartfelt, our behaviors are completely, we're not hardwired. Our brain doesn't work that way. We're not hardwired as an individual. That's who we are. It certainly can behave like that if we don't change it, and it takes energy. Right. But you can certainly change your behavior if it's not serving you and those around you.
I love that. I love that what you just said about like serving yourself and those around you. And it's a conscious choice. It's really thinking about the behavior, the impact you have. The work that you do has an impact on yourself, but it also has that impact on others. And that's the beauty of it, but that's the work of it. So, God, I could talk to you. I could keep going and going. No, this is fantastic. I do want to say one thing, and I know that now that we're actually on a podcast, two people won't be able to see this, but we will be posting about this. Talk to us about your t-shirt game, because I see you're wearing one today, and I love how you do this. So talk to us about your t-shirt game.
I don't know how it evolved. It just is something. I guess messaging is important, right? And and to be quite candid with you, I get these things to motivate myself, not other people, because I feel like once I put it on, then I got to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can't walk around and by the way, back what you said a little bit ago about it's every day, right? So there are lots of days I don't live up to it.
Right.
Right. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress.
No,
and so I tell it, I mean, if I can hit over 50%, I'm good. Like if I can do it more times than I don't, there's other days I just don't have it in. You know, there's other days we all just can't do it. So that's how it evolved. I find these brands where I love the messaging and I love them for me. And then I wear them because I want people to understand that's what they're getting into. I'm not forcing that point of view on anybody. It's just, hey, I always say from a business development standpoint, I want to get to know NO quicker. Like, I want for people to be able to look at me and go, this is not my guy.
Right.
Like, and I'm perfectly okay with that.
Right.
Because I want people who look at it, who see what's going on and go, that's who can help me. That's the kind of help I need.
Exactly.
So yeah, my wife sometimes gets a little upset because she sees, like, the one I have on today says, start no shit, take no shit. Right. And so that's what I'm walking around with today. And I agree with the concept. Like, you know, you don't have to, and I don't expect everybody to agree with me, and I'm not forcing it on them. We can agree to disagree, and that's perfectly okay.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. I love it. Well, it works. It works for you, and it works for me observing it. So actually, I'll tell you, you posted one day on when I was following you on Instagram on the Relentless Few. And it stuck with me. And then all of a sudden I was trying to go back and find it. And I was like panicking, trying to re-find it. So I've learned the name, and I've learned to follow it, you know, and post about it and share it. So, and that's exactly what we're doing here today, is to, you know, share what you're doing, work to really, as I was saying earlier, we're really looking to elevate and amplify voices like you that are keeping it real. And sometimes I talk about this platform as this like source of realness. And I think that's a lot of what we need out there, is to cut through that bullshit and be, you know, having people be real about it. So thank you for your contribution and all you're doing. Before I let you go though, I would love to have you tell us a little bit about some of the new things you're doing. So in my stalking of you, I saw that you've got a Relentless Leaders Academy coming up. So who's that for? What's it entail? How do people get involved? Hopefully the goal is to have it ready for public consumption by January 1 of 2022. So I just started kind of this 5-month process to codify all this stuff. Okay. And if people, and it's for individuals or teams. Anybody can go through it. There's going to be kind of different levels of interaction. But if you want more information, you can go to the relentlessview.com/RLA, Relentless Leadership Academy. And there's a box will pop up. And if you want, you know, insight, or you want to get on the list to learn more about it, you can put your email in, and we'll update people periodically as we make progress. Okay, awesome. Well, you're hearing it here, folks. Get on that page, check him out on Instagram, follow his LinkedIn. He's got really great things to say and doing great things to be a part of the change that we want to see. So Perry, thank you so much for being here. And like I said, thank you for all you're doing.
Well, thanks so much for inviting me. It was a great conversation, and what you do and what you're doing is great, because you're given platform for positive messages for people to hear. And there should be more of that than what we see.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. All right. Talk to you soon.
Yep. Bye-bye.